When the Hive Queen sacrifices thousands of her own, Skynet takes the bait, only to face something far deadlier. The cavern reeked of death. Not the usual metallic tang of blood that soaked into hive walls, but the heavier, lingering stench of mass decay. Rows of unmoving, curled xenomorph bodies lay piled high, their exoskeletons blackened and stiff, their inner jaws locked in silence. Hundreds of drones, warriors, and even embryonic eggs had been left to rot in the cold subterranean air. In the center of it all, the Queen stood motionless, her towering crown brushing the jagged ceiling above. Her talons rested lightly against the chitinous floor as she watched over her dead brood, unblinking. To any observer, it would seem as though she had gone mad, killing her own, abandoning her genetic legacy. But the Queen had not gone mad. She had made a calculation. Far above the abandoned hive, Skynet's eyes swept across the valley. A swarm of hunter-killers, reconnaissance drones, and satellite feeds feeding streams of data to the AI's central network. The hive was dying. The infection was weakening. No further activity had been detected for 3 full days. Skynet's predictive algorithms ran probabilities, cycling through thousands of outcomes in nanoseconds. The conclusion: the threat level had decreased to near zero. Elimination of this nest would require minimal force deployment. A perfect opportunity to test new assets. From the black sky descended 6 dropships, each bristling with mounted plasma cannons. Their cargo: Skynet's newest abominations, the T-900 Apex units, designed specifically for deep infestation purges. Built heavier than standard endoskeletons, each Apex unit carried twin flamethrower assemblies, retractable buzzsaw limbs for carving through chitin, and neural inhibitors for resistance to parasitic influence. They were the pinnacle of Skynet's anti-organic warfare, and they were walking into hell. The first Apex unit landed in the valley, its metal feet sinking slightly into the damp, spongy earth. Its optical sensors flared crimson as it scanned the cavern entrance. No motion, no heat signatures beyond the threshold. "Commence entry," came the remote command from Skynet's central node. The machines moved with precision, forming a diamond formation as they advanced into the black maw of the hive. Their mounted lights cut through the dark, beams sweeping across walls etched with resinous patterns. Stalactites dripped viscous fluid. Claws of the long-dead lay scattered, brittle and broken. Still nothing stirred. The Apex units pressed deeper, their internal systems logging structural scans and environmental readings. No life forms detected. No atmospheric disturbances. It was a tomb. And then, 20 meters inside, one of the units halted. Its head swiveled slowly to the side, red optics focusing on something protruding from the wall. A single egg. Not open. Not dead. Alive. Specimen detected. The unit transmitted. As its saw limb extended to destroy the egg, the air vibrated with a deep, resonant pulse. The lights flickered once, then stabilized. The egg trembled. Before the Apex unit could strike, the egg split open with a wet crack, unleashing a screeching burst of sound ultrasonic in pitch. The hive walls answered in kind. Hundreds of hidden tunnels opened at once, disgorging horrors Skynet had never faced. These were not standard xenomorphs. Their bodies were plated with thicker, metallicized chitin, shimmering with traces of iron like natural armor. Their limbs were longer, more serrated, and their inner jaws, they were laced with something that glimmered like liquid steel. The Queen had been breeding for this moment, using generations of captured machine components and melted endoskeleton alloys to augment her brood. The corpses littering the entrance had been nothing more than bait, a staged sign of weakness to lull Skynet into overconfidence. Now her true children attacked. The Apex units reacted instantly, opening fire with concentrated plasma bursts. The first wave of metallic xenomorphs was torn apart mid-leap, acidic blood splashing across walls and floor. But even as the acid burned, the creatures adapted, writhing through the flames, sacrificing themselves to coat the ground in corrosive traps that ate through apex feet. Threat escalation detected. Skynet's central node transmitted coldly. Deploy full assault protocols. Flamethrowers ignited. The cavern turned into a raging inferno. Yet the hive endured. The queen moved at last. Emerging from a shadowed alcove, her immense form was now grotesquely modified. Chitin and metal interlocked across her body. Scavenged machine plating fused into her exoskeleton. Her tail bore a razor tip forged from a shattered hunter-killer blade. She opened her jaws and released a deafening screech that shook the walls. Her children obeyed instantly, shifting tactics. The xenomorphs ceased frontal assaults, instead retreating into the tunnel network. The apex units advanced, pressing into the hive's heart, right where she wanted them. 50 meters below the surface lay a chamber unlike any Skynet had ever mapped. The hive's central egg chamber had been converted into a killing ground. Dozens of eggs lined the walls, but these were not eggs in the traditional sense. They were biomechanical bombs, pulsing with volatile acid sacs and coiled with strands of explosive resin. The apex units entered without hesitation. The queen's trap sprung. From every tunnel, her brood surged forward in suicidal waves, overwhelming the apex perimeter. The machines fought viciously, sawing through limbs, incinerating entire clusters. But for each xenomorph they killed, another detonated at their feet, splattering acid and igniting resin charges. One apex unit fell, its frame melting under a flood of corrosive ichor. Another was impaled through the chest by the queen herself, her tail slicing it in two. Skynet's central node recognized the ambush too late. Abort mission. Immediate withdrawal, the AI commanded. But the surviving apex units were already cut off. The hive's tunnels collapsed behind them, sealing every exit. The queen descended into the fray, her massive claws rending metal apart. She seized the last apex unit by its head and forced it down before her. In a final act of defiance, the machine activated its self-destruct core. The queen released it deliberately. The explosion tore through the chamber, incinerating everything in a maelstrom of fire and acid. The hive collapsed entirely. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, from beneath the rubble, movement. The queen dragged herself from the wreckage, her exoskeleton blackened but intact. She raised her head and released a triumphant, guttural roar. The hive had died, yes, but Skynet's finest had died with it. And in her womb, she carried the next generation, gestated from machine DNA harvested from the destroyed apex units. Stronger, smarter, deadlier. Skynet would come again. She would be ready.